Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need to talk about you. Welcome everyone to the Scooby-Doo, where are you talk. Happy day everyone. We're here to talk about what Hikati Media noticed with Scooby-Doo, everybody's favorite Great Dane. With his friends, of course. This will be about the original show, his debut on TV, which spanned 3 seasons before being spun off into different titles. Don't worry, we'll talk about the other titles in their respective videos as well. I am Gibson Shamar and will be talking you through this whole video. So we're gonna go through the characters and then we'll talk about the show itself. Let's go! First up, we have the title character, Scooby-Doo. Scooby is a Great Dane and can speak English. He appears to be the only animal capable of human speech in the show. There are instances where some animals say his name or just understand him when he speaks to them in English, but he is the only one that we can confirm. He's got a serious rivalry with mice because there always seems to be a mouse beefing with him at some point or another. He loves to eat, often tricking Shaggy out of his food or straight up stealing it. He's a cheerful dog as well, loyal to his friends, and has the closest relationship with Shaggy. Next up, the fan favorite human character, Shaggy. Yup, Shaggy. The skinny, really tall guy who can run as fast as a Great Dane. There are memes that say that he's on drugs, which is why he can run that fast. But what memers don't know or just flat out ignore for the sake of their memes being funny is that Fred mentioned that Shaggy is one of the most fit guys in their school, if not the fittest, and excels in gymnastics. He says this in the first episode of the show. In the beginning, Shaggy was just a normal dude, but as the show went on, he started to become more cowardly. I think this was meant to make him stand out a bit more and for comedic effect. He is a kind guy, gentle, tries to be firm, but can't due to his cowardly and gentle nature. He loves to eat and often shares with his buddy Scooby. Contrary to what memers also like to say, he's not the only one who can communicate with Scooby. The whole gang understands him. It's just everyone else who is never seen verbally interacting with Scooby. He's also a loyal guy, very creative and clever when the situation calls for it. He has various talents. Aside from his gymnast skills, he is an artist, a ventriloquist, can do voices, and a master of disguise. He can also juggle. A lot of the time, I also like to think that he and Scooby have some sort of reality warping superpower or some latent hypnosis because the bad guys always fall for their tricks. An interesting side note about the character, the voice actor became a vegetarian. So he insisted that Shaggy became a vegetarian too. This was after the show had already started and had been airing for a long time. The network accepted anyway, and he became a vegetarian for the remainder of the show. Another fun fact is that in most episodes, he says the name of the show. He's always like, Scooby-Doo, where are you? We've got Velma up next. She's the brains of the group. Contrary to recent comments by some fans of the Scooby-Doo franchise, she is not overlooked and is very much appreciated as a member of the group. She's also very skeptical of supernatural stuff. She's always the first one to call the bluff of the supernatural, believing in scientific explanations for everything. And, well, at the end of every episode, it turns out that she's right. There is no supernatural. It's just some criminal making use of people's superstitions. Although there was one episode, the season 2 finale, where they went to a house and after finding the criminals, they found that there was really a ghost in there. There really was a ghost in that house. She didn't say anything about it. It doesn't matter. The discovery was in the end of the episode. Though, and it wasn't the season finale, it was actually the 5th episode of the 2nd season. She wears glasses and often loses them. Whenever that happens, she becomes like a senile old woman. It's really funny. She's also the shortest of the group. Her proximity to Shaggy and Scooby is also noted. She found a way of getting them to do things that they would refuse to by offering Scooby snacks. As a kid, I always wondered what those tasted like. I think they sold Scooby snacks in real life, so this was like some sort of marketing thing. You sly dogs. It was all part of the grand design, wasn't it? These guys were mad geniuses. Oh well. Ooh, and she's a redhead. My kind of girl. I would also like to point out that there are many episodes where Fred and Daphne are doing their we're not explicitly dating, but you can put it together if you care enough thing, and Velma tries to get it on with Shaggy, but Scooby always gets in the way, leaving Velma alone. Yeah, I noticed. She even complained about being a wallflower once. I've been there, Velma. I understand. Then we've got Fred. He's a blonde. He's the leader of the group and loves to set traps for the villains to get caught in. He's also the one who decides how the group should be split. Of course he is. He's the leader after all. He loves solving mysteries too. The other person who loves it just as much as, if not more than him, is Velma. Fred doesn't really have much going on. He's the one that drives the group's van, the Mystery Machine. He's brave, resourceful, and clever. He also shows a lot of concern for the people that he is helping. Finally, we have Daphne. Memers call her a damsel in distress who always gets captured. Yeah, well, watching this show, it only happened like 3 times. That's not much considering the others have also been captured just as many times. I think the one who has been captured the least is Shaggy. He always gets away. Even Scooby has been captured. Daphne is the pretty girl of the group. She is very easy on the eyes, let me tell you. She's a redhead too. My kind of girl. She's soft-spoken and is actually overlooked a lot of the time. She is the one with the least to contribute as a character, actually. That's why I left her for last. She's good to fill out the roster of the show, but there's nothing particularly unique about her to talk about her in detail, like the other characters. Well, now that we've gotten to know the characters, let's look at the show itself. The show has a very simple premise. The teens go to a place to hang out, then uncover some creepy or supernatural thing that's going on, go after clues to understand it, then capture the person and unmask them, revealing them to just be a small-time or big-time criminal. That's every single episode. The show has a standard formula, and just like the Hanna-Barbera shows we have covered already, it worked for the time. In fact, this was the original one. This is the one that it all started with. The traveling group of teens, the mysteries, the unmasking of villains, all of it. We have this show to thank for it. The production was well done. Unlike some of the other shows, this one was handled pretty well and wasn't cheap looking, even when you compare it to today's standards. Sure, their running animation is repeated in every setting, but hey, cut them some slack. The important thing is that everything else is proper. The stories are also nice. I like that memers took the lesson of this show as the real monsters are people. That's a pretty noble sentiment. I was a kid when I watched this originally, but now that I'm older, I put it together. These guys were stopping drug traffickers. Every scheme they stopped involved trafficking of illegal stuff. Obviously, they couldn't use drugs because it's a kids' show, but they were stopping illegal drug trade, smuggling, and the occasional common thief and swindler. Dude, sometimes it sucks to grow up, and other times it just blows your mind the way you start to see things, especially in the shows we watched as kids. The kids' shows today have nothing on the kids' shows we watched as kids. There's also the running gag that after they hear of the story of the creature that is haunting the place, Shaggy and Scooby are always the first to see it. Even when they try to leave the place true to fear, they still end up being the first to see the creature. That is very ironic. They're the ones who are least interested in solving the mystery, but they always get dragged into it either by Scooby snack bribery or the creature just chasing them. As a kid, I used to get annoyed sometimes about how Fred always split the group up so that he would end up with the girls or just Daphne. I'd wonder why Daphne could never go with Shaggy. Memers came to the rescue there and brought up that he probably wanted to do those fun bedroom things with the girls. Fred, you sly dog, you. That's very underhanded of you and respectable. But I don't think that that's the case. I think it's more about how Fred knows that Shaggy is easily scared, so he can't properly protect the girls. So it's only sometimes that he lets Velma go with Shaggy. Ironic too, since Shaggy is captured the least. Another thing I noticed was the lack of meddling kids insults. This show only has 3 people say that. The show has 41 episodes and they're only called that in 3 episodes. The first time they're called that is in season 2. I remember almost every episode ending with them being called meddling kids by the criminals that they capture. But nope, I think it's a Mandela effect thing. Either way, the first 2 seasons had the classic Scooby-Doo Where Are You opening. Season 3 had a different opening, which belonged to the Scooby-Doo show. The one with Scooby skiing and a shark trying to bite his ski things. I don't know if that's the way it was always meant to be, or if the show I got access to from the totally legal website was copied wrongly. The 3rd season was called the revival season, so it may be that it was meant to be a revival, but then they just started calling it a different name as they kept going. I mean, the different opening had already given it a different name anyway. It was called The Scooby-Doo Show. In fact, upon further reading, the season finale of season 2 was actually the series finale. Interesting. The show was meant to have like 31 episodes and end, but look at how long the universe has persisted for. I'm pretty sure there's a new Scooby-Doo movie every year. I'm not following all of them, I just stick to the ones they showed on Cartoon Network. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, and Scooby-Doo and the Cursed Werewolf. I don't know if your Cartoon Network had other Scooby-Doo movies, but those were the ones that I got to see. I also like how, despite every situation they run into being a hoax, Shaggy and Scooby always get spooked at the thought of a monster or a ghost. Guys, how many times have you encountered fakes and phonies? You're still going to act like you've seen some stuff? Well, at least they're cautious enough not to get carried away in the hubris of their success. Then there's also the popularization of the ghostly moan. I like that. I don't know if it was done before this show, but I saw it so much in this show that I get the impression that it was popularized through this. Every ghost, ghoul, phantom, and specter had a signature moan, and they'd always do that at random. It's also weird that sometimes they show up, stand there, and wait for the characters to run away. Chiefs, aren't you trying to capture them so that they don't find out what you're planning? Well, I guess scaring them away is also a means to an end. Did you notice something about the characters in these shows? I realized it with Jabberjaw, but it was made more apparent when I was watching this show. Every character has a catchphrase they use when they get spooked. Okay, Fred doesn't. Daphne says Jeepers. Velma says Jinkies. Shaggy says Zoinks. Scooby says Yikes or Yipe. That's just a really fun thing I found out as I watched it. I'm guessing those times really had kids looking for something to exclaim all the time. Wasn't that around the time they gave Aquaman the outrageous catchphrase too? I wouldn't be surprised. And wasn't that the time when Robin would often exclaim, "Holy something, Batman?" Yeah, I can see where they were going with this show. These guys were really clever. I'm guessing they could gauge who the fan favorite character was by how many kids would use a particular exclamation at random. My favorite schemer was the Wax Phantom. I liked the effect of his voice, and his size was genuinely terrifying to me as a kid. Plus, he's the only one who actually tried to harm the gang, unlike the others who would just lock them up somewhere. The Wax Phantom guy actually tried to physically harm them by putting them in hot wax. This was fitting for a series finale villain. Although if the show ended back then and was never picked back up again, we wouldn't have had a lot of the other cool stuff that we eventually did, which I will cover in other videos. For now, I think that's it for me with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? There isn't much controversy or any interesting trivia about it. It's just a simple kids show meant to entertain and occasionally scare us. They did a good job with both things. Could it have been a longer show? Definitely. So could this video. See? It's like poetry. It rhymes. Boy, I just love bringing that up. It warms my heart. Anyway, be sure to check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and the rest of our channel for more interesting content. We've got loads of it. Have a good day.